The Keldon warships came out of hyperspace like silver knives cutting through black cloth. There were 5 of them, each one bigger than anything humanity had ever built. They moved with the grace of predators who had never known fear. They had conquered 1,000 worlds. Earth was just another stop. High Commander Vorn stood on the bridge of his flagship and looked at the blue planet below. It was pretty, he thought. It would make a fine labor colony once the humans learned their place. His second-in-command, Warlord Rin, stood beside him with arms crossed. Behind them, strategist Kale studied data on a floating screen. "The humans wish to show us their fleet," Kale said. His voice carried amusement. "They are proud of it." Vorn allowed himself a small smile. "Then let us see what they have built." The shuttle carried them to Earth's only orbital station. It was small and ugly compared to Keldon construction. The metal looked cheap. The lights flickered. Vorn had seen better stations on worlds they had burned to ash 50 years ago. A human delegation waited for them in the docking bay. At the front stood a woman in a military uniform. Her name tag read Admiral Siajin. She was old by human standards with gray hair and hard eyes. She did not bow. Vorn noted this with displeasure, but said nothing. Primitives often lacked proper manners. "Welcome to Earth," Admiral Siajin said. Her voice was flat and cold. "We have prepared a demonstration of our defensive capabilities." "How kind," Vorn replied. "We are eager to see what toys you have built." The Admiral's jaw tightened, but she led them through the station without another word. They walked through narrow corridors filled with humans who stopped and stared. Vorn saw fear in their eyes. Good. Fear was the beginning of obedience. They reached a large viewing window that looked out into space. Admiral Siajin pressed a button on the wall. "This is our prototype warship," she said. "The Ashes of Soul." Vorn looked out the window. For a moment, he thought there had been a mistake. What floated before him could not be a warship. It was a mess, a disaster, a joke. The ship was shaped wrong. One side was longer than the other. Armor plates of different colors and different metals covered its hull like patches on old clothing. Wires and cables hung exposed along its surface. Strange devices stuck out at odd angles. Part of it looked like stolen Keldon technology. Part of it looked like junk from a garbage pile. Warlord Rin made a choking sound. It took Vorn a moment to realize he was trying not to laugh. Strategist Kale did not try to hide his reaction. He laughed openly and loudly. "This," he said, "this is your warship. This is what you will use to defend your world." Admiral Siojin's face turned red, but she said nothing. Vorn leaned closer to the window. He studied the ugly ship with growing disbelief. "How does it even fly?" he asked. "It looks like it was built by children. It was built by our best engineers," the Admiral replied through clenched teeth. "Then your best engineers are fools," Rin said. He was no longer hiding his laughter. "I have seen cleaner construction in the slums of conquered worlds." Kale was already recording the ship on his device. "The Empire will love this," he said. "I will broadcast it on every channel. The humans built a warship out of garbage. This is the funniest thing I have seen in 100 years." On the bridge of the Ashes of Soul, Captain Tay watched the aliens through the station's cameras. His crew stood around him in silence. Lieutenant Yuna, his weapons officer, had her hands balled into fists. Engineer Minho stared at his console with empty eyes. Pilot Hannah gripped the armrests of her seat so hard, her knuckles turned white. They could hear the laughter through the communication link captain. Tay was 43 years old. He had spent his entire adult life preparing for this moment. He had known the aliens would come. He had known they would laugh. He had counted on it. "Let them laugh," he said quietly. "Let them laugh until their throats hurt." Yuna turned to him. "Sir, I want to shoot them." "Not yet," Tay replied. Soon, back on the station, High Commander Vorn had stopped laughing. He straightened his uniform and looked at Admiral Siajin with something like pity. "I will give you a choice," he said. "Your species can join the Empire as a labor colony. You will serve us. You will work in our mines. You will build our ships. In return, we will let you live. And if we refuse?" the Admiral asked. Vorn shrugged. Then we will kill every human on this planet. We will burn your cities. We will poison your oceans. We will leave nothing but ash and silence. You have 7 days to decide." He turned and walked back toward the shuttle. Renninkale followed, still chuckling about the ugly ship. Admiral Siajin watched them go. When they were out of sight, she pressed her communication device. To Captain Tay, she said, "You heard everything?" "I did," his voice replied. "They are fools," she said. "They did not ask any questions about the ship. They did not scan it. They just laughed." On the bridge of the Ashes of Soul, Captain Tay allowed himself a small smile. It was not a happy smile. It was the smile of a hunter watching prey walk into a trap. Engineer Min-ho looked up from his console. "They laughed at the wiring," he said softly. "They did not ask what it was connected to." Tay nodded. "In 7 days, they will learn, and they will never laugh again." The stars outside were cold and silent. Somewhere out there, 300 Keldon warships were preparing to destroy humanity. They thought it would be easy. They thought humans were weak and primitive and stupid. They were about to discover how wrong they were. The news spread across Earth like fire. The aliens had come. They wanted slaves. Humanity had 7 days to surrender or die. Cities emptied as people fled to the countryside. Governments held emergency meetings. Religious leaders called for prayer. Some people screamed in the streets. Others sat in silence, waiting for the end. But in a hidden facility deep beneath the mountains of Korea, there was no panic. There was only work. Admiral Siajin stood before the United Earth Council. The room was filled with leaders from every nation. Their faces were gray with fear. The numbers on the screen behind them told a terrible story. "The Keldon fleet consists of 300 warships," Siajin said. "Each one is more powerful than anything we have ever built. Our entire defense force is 12 patrol ships and 1 prototype." A council member from Europe raised his hand. "Then we must surrender," he said. His voice shook. "We cannot fight this. We cannot win." Siojin shook her head. "Captain Tay has a different opinion. I think you should hear it." The screen flickered. Captain Tay's face appeared. He looked tired but calm. Behind him, the bridge of the Ashes of Soul hummed with activity. Council members Tay said, "I know the numbers look bad. I know you think we have no chance. But I am going to tell you something that will change your mind." He paused and let his words sink in. "For 50 years, we have collected alien technology, crashed ships, black market purchases, stolen data. We studied all of it, but we did not try to copy it. We did something smarter. We asked ourselves one question: what are its weaknesses?" Tay pressed a button. Images appeared on the screen, diagrams, blueprints, mathematical formulas that made the scientists in the room gasp. "The Keldon think their technology is perfect," Tay continued. "They think their shields cannot be broken. They think their weapons cannot be matched. They are wrong. Every system has a flaw. Every design has a weakness. And we have found them all." The council member from Europe frowned. "One ship cannot defeat 300. It does not need to defeat them," Tay replied. "It needs to break them. It needs to make them bleed. It needs to teach them that Earth is not worth the cost." In the engineering bay of the Ashes of Soul, Min-ho had not slept in 4 days. His eyes were red. His hands shook from too much coffee. But he could not stop. There was too much work to do. The ship's reactor was not like any reactor in the galaxy. It did not just produce power. It consumed power. Energy that hit the shields did not bounce away. It was absorbed and fed back into the system. The more the enemy shot at them, the stronger they became. Min-ho had spent 10 years designing it. Everyone said it was impossible. Everyone said it would explode. But Min-ho had made it work through pure stubbornness and a refusal to accept failure. His assistant, a young woman named Jisoo, brought him another cup of coffee. "Sir, you need to rest. The ship needs me. She is not ready yet." Min-ho patted the wall of the engineering bay. "She has a soul," he said. "I gave her one. She is angry, Jisoo. She knows what the Keldon did to other worlds. She wants revenge. Jisoo did not know what to say to that. She left the coffee and walked away quietly. In the weapons bay, Lieutenant Yuna ran simulation after simulation. Her targeting system was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. It learned. It adapted. Every shot the enemy fired taught it something new. Every pattern became a vulnerability to exploit. She had stolen the base code from a Keldon research station 3 years ago. Then she had rewritten it completely. The Keldon version was smart. Her version was brilliant. Captain Tay found her staring at streams of data on her screen. "How is it coming?" he asked. "Perfect," Yuna replied. "The system has already analyzed every Keldon ship design in our database. I know where their armor is thin. I know where their reactors are vulnerable. I know the exact frequency that will make their shields fail." Nodded. "And if they change their tactics?" Yuna smiled. It was not a nice smile. "Then my system will learn their new tactics in seconds, and it will kill them anyway." In the pilot's seat, Hannah ran simulations over and over again. The holographic display showed the ashes of Sol fighting the Keldon fleet. In every simulation, the ship was destroyed within the first hour. She ran them anyway. She was looking for something. A path? A possibility. A way to survive. After her 100th simulation ended in failure, she leaned back and closed her eyes. Her grandmother had died in the colony attacks 100 years ago. The Keldon had burned an entire moon just to test a new weapon. No one had survived. Hannah had grown up hearing stories about that day. She had grown up with the anger. Now she had a chance to use it. "One more time," she whispered, when started the simulation again. On the last night before the battle, Captain Tay left the ship. He took a shuttle down to Earth and landed near a quiet memorial in Seoul. The names of the dead were carved into black stone. Millions of names. People who had died before humanity even knew aliens existed. Tay walked among the stones until he found the name he was looking for. His grandfather, a colony worker who had been burned alive by Keldon weapons. He knelt down and touched the cold stone. "They are coming," he said softly. 300 ships. They think we are weak. They think we will break. But they do not know us. They do not know what we have built. They do not know what we are willing to do." He stood up and looked at the stars above. "I am going to make them pay," he said. "For you, for everyone. I am going to teach them that humans do not surrender. We do not kneel. We fight until there is nothing left. And when the dust settles, they will remember our name with fear." The stars were silent. But somewhere out there, 300 Keldon warships were getting closer. They were laughing about the ugly little ship. They were making jokes about the primitive humans. In 3 days, they would stop laughing forever. The sky tore open at the edge of the solar system. 300 Keldon warships poured through the gap in space like a river of silver death. They were beautiful in a terrible way. Each ship was perfect. Each ship was a masterpiece of alien engineering. Each ship had destroyed worlds. High Commander Vorn stood on his bridge and watched his fleet spread out in attack formation. Behind him, strategist Kale read reports from his console. "The humans have positioned their defense force near the 4th planet," Kale said. 12 patrol ships. "The prototype is not visible. It's probably hiding," Warlord Rin said with a sneer. "The ugly little thing is too ashamed to show itself." Vorn nodded slowly. He felt almost disappointed. He had hoped the humans would at least try to fight. It would have been entertaining. "Open a channel to Earth," he commanded. His image appeared on every screen on the planet. Billions of humans saw his cold, perfect face. His golden eyes looked down at them with contempt. "People of Earth," he said, "your 7 days have ended. I offer you one final chance. Surrender now, and only half of your population will be enslaved. The rest will be allowed to live as servants. Resist, and you will be erased. Every city, every village, every living thing, choose wisely." He cut the transmission without waiting for a response. Near Mars, the 12 human patrol ships formed a defensive line. Their captains knew they were going to die. They had volunteered anyway. Their job was simple: buy time. Nothing more. The first wave of Keldon ships approached. 50 destroyers, each one capable of burning a continent. They did not even bother to raise their shields. Why would they? The human ships were toys. Captain Tay watched from the ashes of Sol. His ship floated in the shadow of an asteroid, completely powered down. To Keldon's sensors, it looked like debris. Just another piece of space garbage. "Hold," he said to his crew. Not yet. Keldon destroyers opened fire. Green beams of energy sliced through space. The first human patrol ship exploded in a ball of fire. Then the second. Then the third. Yuna's hands trembled over her console. "Captain, they are dying," Note replied. His voice was steady, but his eyes were dark with pain. "Hold. 4 more patrol ships died in the next 60 seconds. The Keldon were not even trying hard. They were playing. They were enjoying themselves. The remaining 5 human ships scattered, trying to draw the attack away from Earth. It worked. The Keldon followed, hungry for more kills. Now, Captain Tay said, the ashes of Sol came alive, every system powered up at once. The ship's engine roared with a sound that should have been impossible in the vacuum of space. Lights flickered across its ugly hull. The exposed wires began to glow with strange energy. For a moment, the Keldon sensors did not know what they were seeing. Then alerts began to scream across every ship in the fleet. "What is that?" Strategist Kale demanded. "Where did it come from?" Warlord Rin stared at his screen with wide eyes. "It is the prototype. The ugly ship. It was hiding." Vorn leaned forward. "Destroy it." But the ashes of Sol was already moving. It flew in ways that made no sense. It changed direction instantly. It accelerated faster than physics should allow. Keldon targeting systems tried to lock on and failed. Their computers could not predict where the ship would be. "What is wrong with our targeting?" Rin shouted. "I do not know," Kale replied. His voice was confused. "The ship is moving wrong. Our systems cannot calculate its pattern." In the pilot's seat, Hannah laughed. It was a wild, dangerous laugh. She was flying on instinct alone. No computer could predict her because she was not following any pattern. She was dancing. "Lieutenant Yuna," Captain Tay said calmly. "Show them what we built." Yuna pressed a single button. A beam of pure white light shot from the ashes of Sol. It was not like any weapon in the galaxy. It did not burn. It did not explode. It did something worse. The beam hit a Keldon destroyer directly in the center. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the ship simply ceased to exist. It did not break apart. It did not burn. It was there, and then it was not. As if someone had erased it from reality, silence fell across the Keldon fleet. "What?" High Commander Vorn said slowly. "Was that?" No one answered. No one could. Strategist Kale's fingers flew across his console. "The weapon does not match anything in our database. It is not plasma. It is not nuclear. It is not antimatter. It is something else. Something we do not understand." "That is impossible," Rin said. "They are primitives. They build ships out of garbage." "The garbage just erased one of our destroyers," Kale replied quietly. Vorn's golden eyes narrowed. For the first time in a century, he felt something he did not recognize. It took him a moment to identify the emotion. It was fear. "Send 50 ships," he commanded. "Destroy that thing now." 50 Keldon warships turned toward the ashes of Sol. They raised their shields. They powered their weapons. They attacked with enough firepower to crack a planet. Captain Tay watched the wall of green energy rushing toward his ship. He did not flinch. "Minho," he said. "How hungry is she?" In the engineering bay, Minho grinned. His hands flew across the controls. "Very hungry, Captain. Very hungry indeed." The Keldon fire hit the ashes of Sol. The shields flared bright blue, but they did not break. They did not even flicker. Instead, the energy was absorbed. Pulled in, eaten. The ship's reactor screamed with power. Every system on board surged with stolen energy, Unite said. "Feed them back their own fire." Yuna smiled that terrible smile again. "With pleasure, sir." The ashes of Sol fired. Not one beam this time, but dozens. Each shot was different. Each shot was calibrated to a specific target. Weak points in armor, gaps in shields, reactor cores. Keldon ships began to explode. 1, 2, 5, 10. In the span of 3 minutes, 15 Keldon warships died. On the flagship, High Commander Vorn watched in disbelief. His perfect fleet, his invincible ships, being destroyed by a thing that looked like it was built from garbage. He whispered, "How is this possible?" No one had an answer. The battle for Earth had begun, and humanity was not losing. The Keldon fleet was in chaos. Ships that had conquered empires were dying by the dozen. Captains screamed orders that made no sense. Crews panicked at their stations. The impossible was happening before their eyes. "High Commander." Vorn gripped the arms of his command chair until his knuckles turned white. On the screen before him, the ugly human ship danced through his fleet like a demon made of metal and fire. "All ships," he roared. "Focus fire on that vessel. Everything we have." 200 Keldon warships turned their weapons on the ashes of Sol. The space around the human ship turned bright green as thousands of energy beams converged on a single point, in the pilot's seat. Hannah's eyes were closed. She was not looking at her screens. She was feeling the ship, moving with it, becoming it. "Here it comes," she said softly. The wall of fire hit them. The shields flared so bright that the crew had to look away. Alarm screamed. The hull groaned under impossible pressure, but they did not die. In the engineering bay, Minho was laughing like a madman. Energy readings climbed higher and higher. The reactor was drinking the Keldon fire like water. Power levels hit numbers that should have been impossible. More. Minho screamed at his machines. "Give me more." The ship shuddered. Metal creaked. Something deep in the engine made a sound like a hungry animal. "She is full." Minho shouted into his communicator. "Captain, she is so full she might burst." Captain Tay's voice was calm. Then let her spit it back at them. Yuna's fingers flew across her console. Her targeting system had been learning throughout the battle. It had studied every Keldon ship. It knew every weakness, every crack, every flaw. "Firing solution ready," she said. "Targets. All of them." She pressed the button. The ashes of Sol released its stolen energy in a storm of destruction. Beams shot out in every direction. Each one found its target with perfect accuracy. Shield generators overloaded. Armor plates shattered. Reactor cores went critical. Keldon. Ships died in waves. 10, 20, 30. The explosions lit up space like a new sun. On the flagship, Warlord Rin watched his fleet burn. Something inside him snapped. Rage replaced fear. He was a warrior. He had conquered worlds. He would not be defeated by primitives and their garbage ship. "I am taking my ship in," he announced. "I will ram them. I will crush them under my hull." Strategist Kale grabbed his arm. "That is suicide. It is honor." Rin pulled free. "That thing has killed our brothers. It must die, even if I die with it." High Commander Vorn said nothing. He simply watched as Rin's ship broke formation and accelerated toward the human vessel. Hannah saw it coming. A massive Keldon battleship, twice the size of the ashes of Sol, heading straight for them at full speed. "We have a problem," she said. "Big one. Coming fast." Captain Tay studied the approaching ship. "Can we dodge?" "Not at that speed. Not at that angle. He wants to crush us." Tay nodded slowly. Then he turned to his crew. "Minho, can you give me one more miracle?" Minho's voice came through the speaker, tired but determined. "What do you need?" "Everything. Every bit of power we have. Focus it forward. Make it a spear." There was a pause. Then Minho laughed again, that crazy laugh of his. "You want to play chicken with a battleship?" "Captain, I love you." The ashes of Sol stopped running. It turned to face the approaching monster. Warlord Rin saw this and smiled. The humans had accepted their death. Good. It was honorable. All power to forward shields, Captain Tay commanded. All weapons to forward array. Minho, on my mark. The two ships raced toward each other. Kilometers became meters. Seconds became heartbeats. Hold, Tay said. The Keldon battleship filled their view screen. Its hull was massive. Its weapons were glowing. Hold. Rin was laughing on his bridge. Victory was moments away now. Minho released everything. The ashes of souls screamed. Every system overloaded. Every circuit burned. All the stolen energy, all the power they had consumed, exploded forward in a single focused blast. The beam hit the Keldon battleship at point-blank range. For a single moment, both ships were connected by a bridge of pure destruction. Then the battleship exploded. The shockwave hit the ashes of soul like the fist of an angry god. The ship spun wildly through space. Consoles exploded. Lights died. Crew members were thrown from their seats. Hannah fought the controls with bleeding hands. The ship was tumbling, falling, dying. Come on, she whispered. Come on, you can do this. We can do this. Slowly, impossibly, the ship steadied. The tumble became a drift. The drift became a stop. On the bridge, Captain Tay pulled himself up from the floor. Blood ran from a cut on his forehead. Around him, his crew was doing the same, Reporty said. YUNA coughed. Weapons at 40%. I can still shoot. Hannah wiped blood from her eyes. Engines are rough, but working. I can still fly. Minho's voice came through the speaker, weak but alive. She is hurt, Captain. She is hurt bad. But she is too angry to die. Tay looked at the view screen. Where Rin's battleship had been, there was only debris. And around that debris, 12 more Keldon ships were burning. The shockwave had taken them too. How many left? Tay asked. Una checked her sensors. 80, maybe less. They are pulling back. They are scared, Captain. They are actually scared. Tay allowed himself a small smile. They should be. He opened a channel to the remaining Keldon fleet. His face appeared on their screens. Bloody, tired, unbroken. You came here to conquer us, he said. You came here to make us slaves. You laughed at our ship. You called us primitives. But look around you. Count your dead. This primitive ship has killed 200 of your finest vessels. He paused to let the words sink in. We built this ship from the scraps of your victims. Every species you destroyed taught us something. Every world you burned gave us a reason to fight. You wanted to know what humans are? We are the ones who remember. We are the ones who build weapons from pain and rage. We do not surrender. We do not forgive. We just keep coming until there is nothing left. High Commander Vorn stared at the bloody human on his screen. For the first time in his long life, he understood something terrible. They had not come to conquer a primitive world. They had awakened a monster. The battlefield was quiet now. Where 300 Keldon warships had arrived with pride and power, fewer than 40 remained. They drifted in loose formation, their crews shocked and broken. Around them floated the wreckage of their brothers. Metal and fire and death. Spinning slowly in the cold dark of space, High Commander Vorn sat in his command chair and stared at nothing. His flagship was crippled. Half his systems were dead. The other half were dying. Somewhere in the distance, the ugly human ship still floated, damaged but alive. Still dangerous? Still hungry? Strategist Kale approached him slowly. Commander, we must retreat. If we stay, that thing will finish us. Vorn did not respond. His mind was far away, trying to understand how this had happened. 300 ships. The finest vessels in the Keldon Empire, destroyed by primitives. Destroyed by garbage. Destroyed by spite, Commander Kale said again. Please. Vorn blinked. He looked at Kale as if seeing him for the first time. Sound the retreat, he said. His voice was empty. Dead. All ships! Return to the Empire. The order went out. The surviving Keldon vessels began to power their hyperspace engines. One by one, they would tear holes in reality and flee back to safety. But before they could jump, a new transmission came through. Every screen on every Keldon ship flickered. Then Captain Tay's face appeared. He looked terrible. His uniform was torn. Blood covered half his face. Behind him, his bridge was dark and smoking. But his eyes were bright. His voice was strong. "You are leaving," he said. It was not a question. High Commander Vorn straightened in his chair. Even in defeat, he would face his enemy with dignity. "You have won this battle, human. Enjoy your victory. It will not last." Tay shook his head slowly. "No, you do not understand. This is not a victory. This is a warning." He leaned forward. The camera focused on his bloody, unbroken face. "Go back to your empire," Tay said. "Tell them what happened here. Tell them about the ugly ship that killed 200 of your finest. Tell them about the primitives who fought back. Tell them about Earth." His voice grew harder, colder, sharper. "And tell them this. If they ever come back, we will be waiting. We will have more ships. We will have better weapons. And we will not stop until your empire is dust and memory. Every world you have burned, we remember. Every species you have killed, we carry in our hearts. You made us into this. You turned a peaceful people into warriors. You gave us a reason to exist, revenge." Vorn felt something cold crawl down his spine. This was not the speech of a military leader. This was the promise of something darker. Something that would not stop. Something that could not be negotiated with. "You are insane," Vorn whispered. Tay smiled. It was a terrible smile. "We are human. We are survivors. And we never forget." The transmission ended. One by one, the Keldon ships jumped into hyperspace. They fled back to their empire, carrying with them a story that would spread like poison. The story of the ugly ship. The story of Earth. The story of the day the mighty Keldon learned to fear. High Commander Vorn was the last to leave. Before his ship jumped, he took one final look at the blue planet in the distance. So pretty, so peaceful, so incredibly dangerous, he would never return. He knew that now. Earth was no longer a target. Earth was a warning carved in blood and fire. The flagship vanished into hyperspace. And then there was silence. On the ashes of Sol, the crew sat in exhausted stillness. They had won. They had actually won. But no one cheered. No one celebrated. They were too tired to hurt. Too aware of how close they had come to death, Captain Tay walked through his wounded ship. He touched the burned walls. He stepped over broken consoles. He looked at his crew, these brave men and women who had trusted him with their lives. "We did it," Una said softly. "We really did it," Tay nodded. "We did." Hannah was still in her pilot's seat. Her hands were bandaged, but she refused to leave the controls. "They will come back," she said. "Maybe not soon, but eventually. They will want revenge." "Then we will be ready," Tay replied. "We will build more ships, train more crews, and when they return, we will meet them with fire." In the engineering bay, Minho sat with his back against the wall. The reactor was silent now, cooling after its impossible efforts. He had pushed the ship far beyond its limits. He had asked it for miracles. And it had delivered. "Good girl," he whispered to the machine. "Good girl. You rest now. You earned it." The rescue ships arrived 3 hours later. The ashes of Sol was towed back to Earth, where crowds gathered to see the ship that had saved humanity. It was still ugly, still covered in patches and exposed wires, but now it was beautiful too. A symbol, a legend. Admiral Seojin met Captain Tay at the dock. She looked at him with something like wonder. "You did the impossible," she said. Tay shook his head. "I just did what was necessary. The ship did the rest." 1 month later, the Earth Council made an announcement. A new class of warship would be built. 50 vessels based on the ashes of Sol design. They would be faster, stronger, deadlier. They would carry the same hungry reactors, the same adaptive weapons, the same doctrine of spite. A reporter asked what the class would be called. Captain Tay stepped up to the microphone. Behind him, Lieutenant Yuna smiled. Engineer Minho laughed. Pilot Hannah nodded slowly. They laughed at our prototype, Tay said. They called it a mockery. They thought we were a joke. He looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there, the Keldan Empire was learning the truth about Earth. Somewhere out there, fear was spreading. So we will call them the Mockery class, he said. Let them remember what they laughed at. Let them remember what that laughter cost them. Let them look at our ships and know that every single one was built from their own arrogance. He paused. The crowd was silent. They wanted to know what humans are made of, Tay continued. Now they know. We are made of dust and spite and stubborn hope. We are made of every defeat we have survived, every wound we have healed, every enemy we have outlasted. We do not give up. We do not break. We just keep building. He smiled that dangerous smile one last time, and we never, ever forget. The crowd erupted in cheers. The sound echoed across the planet, across the solar system, out into the galaxy, where frightened aliens whispered about the primitives who had defeated an empire. Earth was no longer alone. Earth was no longer weak. Earth was awake, and the universe would never be the same.